Let's speak now to the Labour leader, Andrew Little. He's with me in the Wellington studio this morning. Also, if you are on Facebook, you can watch this on Facebook Live if you are following our Facebook page. Good morning, Andrew Little.
Good morning.
So a joint State of the Nation. Can New Zealanders then expect joint policies too?
There will be one or two joint policies. In the end, we are still two separate parties. We're both, when it comes to the general election, both competing for the party vote. But what we are two parties that share a conviction about changing the government in this year's general election. We have plenty of common ground. We have a strong relationship. Where we have differences, we can work through those.
Where might those policies come that will be joint ones?
When?
Where? What sort of topics?
Aged care. So we have a fairly common ground on aged care. I think in a few weeks' time, you'll hear from Grant Robertson, our finance spokesperson, and James Shaw, agreements about fiscal responsibility, fiscal guidelines, economic management.
You do have some fairly obvious areas where you diverge, and looking at policy, the Green Party's wanting cannabis legalised. You don't though, do you?
We support legalising cannabis products for medicinal use. We're very clear about that and pledged to do that in the first 100 days. We are less supportive of broader liberalisation of cannabis, and we want to see more information, more evidence, particularly medical and scientific evidence about the impact of that.
Now, I had a bit of a search on Labour's website this morning and I couldn't find a policy on climate change. What is it?
On climate change, we have an extensive policy on climate change, reducing carbon emissions. We
might want to look at your search engine then.
Well, we'll have a look at that. We were the author of the original emissions trading scheme that this government watered down. So we are totally committed to reducing carbon emissions, responsible management of the environment. Our water policy, quality of water policy that we run in the last two elections is absolutely pristine. That's both the policy and, of course, the water we want as a result of it.
So this isn't something that you would just let the Greens take care of?
Not at all, no. We've got a strong environmental tradition too in our party, and we have strong environmental policy. We've got champions like David Parker, like Megan Woods, who are totally behind and putting together our stuff on this.
Now, what about the Five Eyes arrangement? You want to stay in, the Green Party wants to leave. In these sorts of circumstances and others that we could pull out, what are you going to do if you're in government and you've got policies where you disagree?
Well, like any disagreement, you talk about it, and in the end, it'll be who has the numbers. We'll make sure what happens prevails.
So would it essentially be free caucus votes on it?
Not sure it'd be free caucus votes.
How would you actually nitty gritty deal with this?
The issue of national security is an issue that Cabinet has to deal with, and in the end it's the Prime Minister, usually the Prime Minister and Attorney General have to deal with it. National security is absolutely vital. New Zealanders want to know that the way we're running the country is keeping them safe and secure, that our relationships, our security relationships are strong as well, and I'm absolutely determined we will maintain those.
Now, what about deals in electorates where you may only stand one candidate from Labour or the Greens? How far have conversations got there?
Well, we're not. We are agreed that we are not going to have agreements on electorate accommodations. So what each party does in each electorate will be their decision, and that is the way it is.
But does that mean that, for example, in Ohariu, you will both be standing separate candidates for that electorate?
I can't speak for the Green Party. I can speak for Labour. We will have a candidate in Ohariu for the general election.
But you could make a strategic alliance where you stand a candidate. You just said you will, but the Green Party may not.
What the Green Party decides to do will be their decision. We don't have any agreement on Ohariu or any electorate. What they decide to do is what they do.
Will you be talking about this at all, though?
We've had discussions about it. In the end, we got to the point where we thought, that they want to have electorate candidates so that they can campaign for the party vote. We want electorate candidates because we want to campaign for both the electorate and the party vote.
Who's your candidate going to be in Ohariu? Is it Greg O'Connor?
Well, we have a selection process that's underway at the moment. The deadline for nominations comes up soon, and then we'll have a selection in February, so we'll know at the end of February.
But is he one of the names in the frame?
I haven't seen who the nominations are for Ohariu. I'm not aware of who was nominated so far.
OK. If it is Greg O'Connor, he's not someone who's particularly liked by the Green Party, is he?
I'm not sure. But we make our selections on the basis of what we think is important, both for the electorate that whose confidence we're trying to win, and for our broader package of MPs that we want to put in front of the electorate.
Now, if you become Prime Minister, Mr. Little, can you guarantee that your deputy leader, your deputy Prime Minister, is going to be a Green Party MP?
No, I couldn't guarantee anything. In the end, the basis on forming a government follows once the voters have had their say in the general election. That's why the memorandum of understanding we have with the Green Party takes us up to the election, because we're not going to be drawn on, well, who's going to get what and carve up the kind of the spoils. That's a matter for the electorate to decide when they cast their vote.
That does mean, though, that you're leaving the door open to woo Winston Peters for that particular role, isn't it?
Well, both Labor and the Greens have said, even under the memorandum of understanding, we're open to working with any party that's committed to changing the government.
And you wouldn't rule Mr. Peters out as Deputy Prime Minister?
Well, I'm not ruling out any other party being part of a coalition that is about changing the government, and I'm not talking about and cannot talk about allocating particular responsibilities.
But you can't say no, that wouldn't happen.
No, I couldn't say no.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. That's the Labour leader Andrew Little in the Wellington studio. It's now 28 minutes to 8.